Green on. Hello, everybody. Good morning, chili dogs. What you focus on grows. Feed them horses. All right, we got 3 more coming at you guys. I'm gonna get over there in just a second. The clay, I'm actually 2 of the chunks today are around like 5 pounds. I really cut the last chunk of clay bad and it's soft, so cross our fingers, hopefully we can get some good ones out today. Usually when it's soft and a lot, I don't really get some good forms. But anyway, let's see what we got going on. I'll see you guys over there in a second. Green off. Get that as close to center. You can see it's almost like a little mound, right? And then one hand, other hand over. Push and pull. Bring that clay up, right? Do it one more time, and then we're gonna bring it down. Because what we really want to do is we want to get the base kind of in control. Once the base is in control, you can really cruise with the clay, right? Making sure I'm not folding that layer of clay over itself, right? Because there's a thin layer of water. You don't want to trap that underneath there. Ready? At that base. Close up. Right. All right. Got one more. Bring this in. Remember, you want this hand here on the outside to go wherever the clay seems like it's wobbling, right? And you want to keep it consistent all the way down to the bottom here. You're going to bring this in a little bit, right? Again, we don't want to fold that clay. Bring this up once. We can find this little, oh. Okay, nice. Okay, now we can start getting some height. So we're gonna color that top in just a little bit. And now the whole key to height is finding the bump, right? Stretching the clay. So how you stretch the clay is you go right to the bottom. You pop out this little bump here. And just lift that bump up, right? There you go. Here on this top edge. You want to chill? The pot's like actually like living with me and being in my way that build my confidence, right? You don't just have confidence, right? Maybe some people do actually. So I won't say that, but you have to build confidence, right? And so I like to see those visual representations of that in my space. So that's kind of my thoughts on some of that stuff. I hope that answered some of your guys' questions. I think what I got to do is I got to do a collar. And so you can see when I'm collaring, I'm really getting a lot of height. I'm making a tree. So I also have this idea of making unfunctional objects, right? Like a lot of times people in pottery, I feel like, deal with the idea of slack on their creative mind because they're making a functional object. So if a cup is a cup, right, then you don't have to think about kind of some of the meanings behind these things, or you don't really have to mess around with form, right? So I always have this fun idea of like, Well, actually, I want to make a bunch of useless object that nobody wants. Like oftentimes when I see a lot of pots, I don't want to make pots that have been made for thousands of years. I want to make pots that nobody's made, perhaps, right? Or at least I want to put myself on the path to find those forms, right? Grabbing that rim. Remember, it's a little llama, right? He smells the clay. Yeah, that smells like mold. And then he bites right on that rim. And the llamas, they absolutely love volcanoes, right? And so you always got to bring up your clay in a little volcano. And how we're doing that is we're always remembering that push and pull of these two hands, right? They're tense in their movements to get to their food, but they can only move at a slug's pace. So again, we're finding that bump. And we're being cognizant, right? Imagine our hands are like data cables. And when we're touching the clay, we're plugged in. We get to feel it, the clay talking to us, right? We can hear that data that it's transferring to our brain. And you'll find some spots that are a little bit thinner and a little bit thicker, and so you have to address those accordingly, right? And so that's kind of the big thing about pottery, is that you got to really learn to react to your clay, right? Right out there like that. So look at how this one looks like. It's almost like holding its head up, right? This is when the pattern starts to become appendages, right? These tendrils. I really like once you get to these, just two, right? I think oftentimes they start simulating arms too, so I think it ends up bringing the pots out of pottery language and somewhat more into sculpture, perhaps, right? Maybe not fully, but just teetering on that edge. So you can look, it's almost like it's resting on its two hands, like looking out a window or something. Hello everybody, we're back. We're going to start off with this one over here. I think that this one is probably my favorite of the day, right? You have it a little bit dipping down, that rim, right? And so the treetop is kind of tilted. And then you have the two tendrils functioning as more of those appendages, those arms right now, kind of holding up that head of the top there, right? So I think that one is really animated. It has a lot more personality than the other two pots. This one, although it's not as standard as the one on the top, I think has some really cool things happening with the tendrils. And I also really adore the lines, the throwing lines on each of the veins, or the twists, right? There you can see my throwing lines kind of weave in and out of these twisted veins, right? So I quite like when the throwing lines become like an element of the surface there.